Welcome to the Explainer. Look, if you're a global founder building a business from outside the United States, you already know the massive frustration of losing a huge chunk of your hard-earned revenue to exorbitant foreign transfer fees and terrible exchange rates. It's literally infuriating watching your margins shrink simply because of geography, right? Well, today, we're handing you the absolute ultimate playbook for opening a U.S. bank account 100% remotely in 2026. So, the big question right out of the gate: can non-residents actually open U.S. accounts remotely? The answer is a resounding yes. And hey, if you've ever been unfairly rejected, given the runaround, or just buried in paperwork by a legacy U.S. bank, go ahead and smash that like button right now, because those days of being locked out of the global economy are officially over.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the U.S. banking barrier, legacy banks versus FinTech, top accounts compared, freelancers versus founders, the documents you'll need, and the step-by-step application process. Oh, and make sure you're subscribed so you get all the value from our future cross-border business guides.
All right, starting with Section 1, the U.S. banking barrier. Let's look at exactly why legacy banks block global founders.
So, while the US dollar is undeniably the global standard for business, accessing that financial infrastructure is where non-residents have historically hit this massive wall of bureaucratic roadblocks. Traditional legacy banks operate under super strict identity rules, specifically know your customer and anti-money laundering regulations. To satisfy these rules, legacy banks almost always enforce requirements that are frankly practically impossible for international founders. I mean, they require in-person branch visits, they demand a U.S. Social Security number, and they require a physical U.S. operating address. And no, a P.O. box won't cut it. These legacy rules effectively lock out global entrepreneurs who simply can't just hop on a plane to the U.S. or obviously don't have an SSN.
Moving right along to Section 2, traditional banks versus FinTech. Let's talk about the shift to digital-first banking.
Now, what's really interesting here is the rise of the absolute heroes of the 2026 financial landscape. We're talking about digital-first fintech platforms. Let's contrast the total nightmare of legacy banking with the sleek, location-independent reality of modern fintech. While traditional banks are stuck demanding those in-person visits and strict physical address rules, fintechs operate on a completely different wavelength. These platforms are designed for modern founders. They offer 100% remote onboarding, they accept foreign passports instead of SSNs, they rely on your business's EIN, and they require absolutely zero branch visits. And if you're worrying about security, don't. These digital platforms partner directly with established, FDIC-insured clearing banks to hold your deposits safely.
Which brings us to Section 3, Top U.S. Accounts Compared. Think of this as your ultimate buyer's guide for 2026.
Okay, let's talk about our top 3 contenders: Mercury, Relay, and Wise Business. They all offer full remote setup, they require absolutely no SSN, and best of all, they charge zero monthly maintenance fees. But, their superpowers are totally different. Mercury is basically the darling of tech and SaaS companies with its API access and a really clean UI. Relay, on the other hand, is an absolute powerhouse if you follow the profit-first method, because it allows you to create up to 20 individual sub-accounts for incredible cash flow management. And then there's Wise Business. While it's technically an electronic money institution rather than a chartered bank, it is absolutely perfect for managing over 50 currencies globally, all while still giving you those crucial U.S. routing and account numbers.
Moving into Section 4, freelancers versus LLC founders. Let's figure out how to choose the right platform for your specific profile.
So the crucial point here is that picking the right bank depends entirely on your specific business structure. You have to ask yourself, are you a solo freelancer or an incorporated founder? Because if you're an international freelancer or digital nomad, platforms like Grabify and Slash are built exactly for you. You don't need a registered LLC and you don't need a US address. You can literally open an account in minutes with just your passport. It's a game changer, perfectly designed for receiving direct deposits from platforms like Upwork or Deal. On the flip side, if you're an LLC founder looking at more robust platforms like Mercury or Relay, you absolutely must have a registered U.S. entity like an LLC or C Corp and an official EIN from the IRS to access these business-tier accounts.
And hey, here's a really surprising fact for you to keep in mind. Level Bank actually offers up to a 4.00% APY, that's annual percentage yield, for small teams and single-member LLCs. And you want to know the wildest part? It is one of the very rare corporate fintechs out there that allows companies to qualify for an account without demanding a physical U.S. operating address. Seriously, that's pretty huge.
Let's jump to Section 5, Documents You Will Need. This is your non-resident application checklist.
We're going to cover the exact documents you need right now to guarantee a smooth, rejection-free remote application. But real quick, make sure you're subscribed and check the description down below for more resource links. All right, so first, if you formed an LLC, you need your official state approval documents, like your articles of organization. Next up, you absolutely must have your EIN verification letter directly from the IRS. You'll also need a valid foreign passport to serve as your primary government-issued ID. And finally, you're going to need proof of your business address, which could just be a simple utility bill or a lease agreement. Basically, get these 4 things together in a folder and you are completely golden.
Now, let's take a second to clarify one massive point of confusion, the EIN. This stands for Employer Identification Number. It's simply a unique tax ID issued by the IRS specifically for U.S. businesses. And here's where the magic happens. Unlike the Social Security number, which is for individuals and basically impossible for a non-resident to get, an EIN is totally legal and actually incredibly easy for foreign founders to obtain. You literally just file Form SS4. Having this specific number is the absolute key to satisfying bank compliance from overseas.
Okay, Section 6, Step-by-Step Application Process. Let's look at your roadmap to a U.S. bank account.
Let's map out how this all builds together with a simple 4-step roadmap to get your global business fully operational in USD. Step 1, you form your U.S. LLC. Often founders choose friendly states like Wyoming or Delaware for this. Step 2, you take those formation documents and apply to get your EIN directly from the IRS. Step 3, with your LLC docs, your EIN, and your passport in hand, you apply completely remotely via the digital portal of your chosen FinTech. And finally, Step 4, once you hit that beautiful approval screen, you just fund your active account and get ready to receive that very first, completely fee-free ACH direct deposit.
So we've basically covered the complete playbook today, but it really begs a much bigger question. With these fintechs offering borderless banking so seamlessly, will traditional legacy banks eventually adapt to this new reality? Or are they literally destined to be completely replaced by the digital economy? I'd love to know what you think, so please comment your chosen bank and your thoughts down below. Smash that subscribe button and keep exploring the financial world with this explainer. See you in the next one.